Hello, I'm Professor Toybox, and this is Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey, and we're back in my Fantasia Toy Box, which means it's time for our next episode of Toybox Tutorials. Last time, we looked at the falling object generator, and we used it to drop a mine down this ramp. But I pointed out that it doesn't work quite as well as I would like. It only drops one mine at a time, and I want a steady stream of mines rolling down this ramp at regular intervals. I'd also like them to roll a little better than they do right now. So to get the falling object generator to drop more than one mine, I'm going to need to use another toy, and that is the repeater. And that's our topic for today's lesson. Once again, you'll find this toy in the Creativitoys drawer, and I'm going to drop this right out here on top of this. Actually, let's just drop it back behind here out of sight. Here we go. And the repeater allows you to make another toy do the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to connect it to the falling object generator so that it keeps dropping mines until I tell it to stop. And so I've already placed this, and I'm going to reuse this button. So I'm going to come over here and delete the link that we created last time, because the button is not going to talk to the falling object generator. But I do need a button to be able to turn this thing off when I'm done. So I'm going to move the button up to the middle of this tower. And we'll put it up here like that. And I'm also going to drop down a trigger area inside this archway over here. So I'll do that. And one more toy I'm going to need today. I'm going to put down a logic gate. And I'll drop that right up here on top of there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to want to do, I'm going to want to use that repeater. So the repeater is what's going to invoke the falling object generator. And I want to do that when I walk through this trigger area. So I'm going to actually back that up. And then we're going to come into the trigger area, and we'll do a new logic connection when entered by player any. And we're going to come up to the repeater, and we'll look at the behaviors for this first. So the repeater is pretty simple. You can turn it on or off, and it's off by default, so my trigger area there is going to turn it on. And if we open the logic menu for the repeater, you'll notice there are properties, and there's one property, it's called rate. And by default, it's set to 5. So every 5 seconds, the repeater is going to go off. And if we look at the logic connections, there's 3 signals that this broadcasts. It broadcasts on and off. When you turn it on or off, that's what it does. It'll broadcast one of these. And then there's repeat. So every 5 seconds, when the signal goes off, it's going to cause the repeat signal to go out. So I'm going to hook that signal up to my falling object generator. And once again, we're going to drop the mine toy. So the trigger area, when I walk through it over there, will activate the repeater. The repeater will activate this. And every 5 seconds, this repeater is going to go off and keep invoking the falling object generator to drop mines. So with that, I'll get a steady stream of mines. And before we finish with the trigger area here, I only want to do this one time. So on the trigger area, I want to deactivate it. So a new logic connection when entered by player any. And again, I'd like to have it come back around to itself so I can turn it off. But since I can't do that, that's why I've got the logic gate. So we'll input into the logic gate. And then on the logic gate, we'll do a new logic connection on output, turn around, and deactivate the trigger area. So that way the trigger area only works one time. And in case I have to test this multiple times, we'll go ahead and hook up the reset button here. New logic connection when pressed. We'll turn that trigger area back on. Okay, so when Mickey enters this area, then we'll turn on the falling object generator. I don't really need it running and dropping mines if Mickey's never over in this area. So that's why I'm doing that. Now, once you pass through that trigger area, this is going to keep dropping mines until you tell it to stop. And I need a way to do that, and so that's what this button is for. And so on this button, we're going to do a new logic connection when pressed. And we'll come over to the repeater and turn it off. And just to make sure there's no mines floating around that happen to get stuck anywhere, we'll also have the button do a new logic connection when pressed. Come over to the falling object generator and remove all of the mines. So there we go. So now we can go ahead and test this out. Exit. There it goes. Okay, so as soon as we walk through here, we get in a position where we can look at that ramp. This will as soon as we walk into the archway, it'll trigger the repeater. And as we do that, you'll notice immediately a mine comes down the ramp. And then 5 seconds later, another one. So one of the things to bear in mind is as soon as you turn on the repeater, it's going to broadcast that repeat signal immediately. It doesn't wait 5 seconds for the 5-second time to go out. So activating the repeater immediately causes it to repeat. And then it keeps going from there. And you'll notice the mines are kind of going along a little bit differently. That one's going off to the left. That one's rolling a little more down the middle of the ramp. But the only way to get this to stop then is to come over here and cross this little bridge and go up the ladder and push the button. And now that turned off the repeater and there are no more mines rolling down the ramp. So that's the repeater. It's a very simple toy, but it's pretty powerful. Next time we'll look at a toy that will help those mines roll better down that ramp. You won't want to miss that, so be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done that. All you have to do to subscribe is click my photo in the lower right corner. Also, if you enjoyed my video today, or at least found it helpful, be sure to give it a like and leave a comment to let me know. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.